Welcome to Global Watch. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. In the theater of international relations, the scenery is always shifting. The world stage is a dynamic place where alliances are forged and broken, and the balance of power is constantly in motion. Every handshake, every summit, and every agreement can send ripples across continents, changing the course of history in ways both subtle and profound. Once stable alliances fray, and new partnerships emerge to challenge the old order. Countries that were once rivals may find common ground, while old friends drift apart as their interests evolve. The global landscape is never static. It is shaped by economic ambitions, security concerns, and the aspirations of billions of people. For decades, Western powers shaped the global framework, setting the rules and norms that governed international relations. But now, the BRICS group, comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, stands at the heart of a major transformation. These nations, once seen as emerging markets, are now key players, challenging the dominance of traditional Western institutions. What began as a simple acronym coined by economists has evolved into a powerful political and economic bloc. BRICS is no longer just a label. It represents a collective vision for a new world order, one that seeks to give a stronger voice to countries outside the traditional centers of power. Its recent expansion, with new members joining the fold, has sparked intense debate about the future of global governance. Many see this as the dawn of a multipolar world, where influence is shared among several major players rather than dominated by a single superpower or alliance. The idea of non-Western nations working together excites many in the global South, who have long sought a more equitable and inclusive international system. For these countries, BRICS offers hope for fairer trade, greater investment, and a stronger voice in global affairs, opportunities that have often been out of reach in the past. Yet in our hyper-connected world, online rumors and misinformation can spread quickly. Stories, like claims that EU countries are joining BRICS, often blur the line between fact and fiction, making it harder for people to separate reality from speculation. This story explores the real impact of BRICS, its origins, its remarkable growth, and the truth behind the headlines. We'll look at how this group has evolved over the years, what its expansion means for the world, and why so many are watching its next moves with keen interest. Understanding BRICS is key to grasping the future of global power. As the world continues to change, the choices made by these nations, and their partners, will shape the international order for generations to come. The story of BRICS begins in 2001 when the global investment bank Goldman Sachs coined the term BRIC to describe four rapidly emerging economies: Brazil, Russia, India, and China. At the time, these countries were seen as the future engines of global growth, with vast populations, abundant resources, and rapidly expanding markets. The idea was simple, but powerful. Together, these nations could reshape the world's economic landscape, challenging the dominance of established Western economies. The term quickly gained traction, sparking conversations in boardrooms and government offices around the world about the shifting balance of power. But for the leaders of Brazil, Russia, India, and China, this was more than just an economic label. They saw an opportunity to transform their growing influence into a coordinated political force. In 2006, the foreign ministers of these countries met for the first time on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly, marking the beginning of formal cooperation. This collaboration culminated in the first official BRICS summit in Yekaterinburg, Russia, in 2009, where the leaders gathered to discuss shared interests and a vision for a more multipolar world. Their primary goal was to amplify their collective voice on the world stage and to create a counterweight to Western-led institutions like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. By working together, they aimed to influence global economic policies, promote development, and ensure that emerging economies had a greater say in international affairs. This was a bold move, signaling their intent to challenge the status quo and advocate for a fairer, more inclusive global system. In 2010, the group expanded its reach by inviting South Africa to join, transforming BRIC into BRICS. With South Africa's inclusion, the bloc extended its influence to the African continent, further strengthening its claim as a truly global coalition of emerging powers. This move not only diversified the group, but also brought new perspectives and opportunities for cooperation in areas like trade, infrastructure, and sustainable development. To put their ambitions into action, BRICS established the New Development Bank in 2014. Unlike traditional lenders, the New Development Bank was designed to fund infrastructure and development projects across member countries and other emerging economies, without the strict conditions often imposed by institutions like the IMF or World Bank. This was a significant step, demonstrating BRICS's commitment to providing alternative sources of finance and supporting sustainable growth. Recognizing the need for financial stability, BRICS also created a $100 billion reserve fund, known as the Contingent Reserve Arrangement. This fund was designed to help member countries weather financial storms, providing emergency support during times of crisis and reducing their dependence on Western financial systems. It was another step toward building a more resilient and self-reliant bloc. As BRICS matured, its ambitions grew. The group began to advocate for de-dollarization, seeking to reduce reliance on the US dollar in international trade and finance. This push was part of a broader effort to reshape the global order, making it more balanced and representative of the world's diverse economies. Today, BRICS continues to expand, welcoming new members and exploring new ways to influence the future of global governance. BRICS's influence surged in 2024-2025, with its largest expansion yet. Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE joined, each bringing strategic value. Indonesia followed as the 10th member. This expansion transformed BRICS into a diverse coalition united by a desire for greater global influence. Amid this, rumors spread online that EU countries were seeking to join. In reality, no EU nation has applied or expressed official interest. Such membership is politically unfeasible given EU and NATO ties. The persistence of these rumors reflects the power of misinformation in a tense geopolitical climate. The real story is the confirmed expansion into the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, not Europe. The facts are dramatic enough without embellishment. Turkey's case reveals the limits of BRICS expansion. A NATO member with EU ambitions, Turkey sought full BRICS membership in 2024, but was only offered partner status. India and China led opposition, citing Turkey's NATO ties as a fundamental conflict. Tensions between Turkey and India, especially over Kashmir, further doomed the bid. Economic retaliation followed, with India blocking Turkish business interests. The episode shows that BRICS expansion is not automatic. Political alliances matter. Membership is shaped by unwritten rules. Ties to the US and NATO are major obstacles. Turkey's rejection highlights the bloc's boundaries and the myth of EU countries joining. BRICS is selective, not boundless, in its growth. The expanded BRICS bloc is now a demographic and economic giant. With 10 members, it represents about 45% of the world's population and over 35% of global GDP by purchasing power. This puts BRICS on par with the G7, whose share is declining as BRICS rises. The bloc's energy dominance is striking. With Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Iran, BRICS now produces over 30% of the world's oil. This concentration gives the group leverage over global energy markets and strengthens its push to trade in local currencies. These numbers signal a fundamental shift in global power. Despite internal challenges, BRICS's scale ensures its voice will be heard worldwide. The world can no longer ignore what BRICS does next. Joining BRICS is a political decision, not just an economic one. The recent expansion was carefully curated, with each new member chosen for strategic reasons. Geopolitical alignment and a desire for autonomy from the West are key criteria. The veto system means a single member can block an applicant, as India did with Turkey. China pushes for rapid growth. India is more cautious, wary of Beijing's dominance. For many, BRICS offers prestige, alternative finance, and protection from Western pressure. The bloc's selectivity maintains its ideological coherence as a political project. That's why EU membership is a non-starter. BRICS is for those seeking a new world order. BRICS's core ambition is to speed the shift from a US-dominated world to a multipolar system. Russia and China see the bloc as their main tool to challenge American hegemony. The New Development Bank and Reserve Fund are alternatives to the World Bank and IMF. De-dollarization is central trading in local currencies reduces US leverage. The US has responded with threats of tariffs and sanctions, especially after Iran joined. This pressure could push more countries toward BRICS, but internal divisions remain. Rivalries, especially between India and China, and economic struggles in some members, are real obstacles. For BRICS to succeed, it must deliver more than anti-Western rhetoric. It must offer real benefits. Analysts around the world are engaged in a lively debate. Is BRICS turning against the West, or is it simply charting its own independent course away from Western dominance? The distinction is subtle but significant, and it shapes how we interpret the bloc's actions and ambitions. Some argue that BRICS is positioning itself as a direct challenger to Western influence, while others see a more nuanced shift, a desire for greater autonomy and self-determination, rather than outright confrontation. For most observers, the consensus is that BRICS seeks to carve out its own space in the global order. The bloc's members are not necessarily looking to provoke a new Cold War or escalate tensions with the West. Instead, they want more options, more flexibility, and a greater say in how the world is run. This is about expanding their influence and creating alternatives, not about building walls or burning bridges. For many countries, joining or aligning with BRICS is a strategic move to diversify their partnerships and increase their leverage on the world stage. It's less about declaring opposition to the West and more about ensuring they are not overly dependent on any single power bloc. By engaging with BRICS, these nations hope to secure better economic opportunities, more balanced diplomatic relationships, and a stronger voice in international affairs. However, the situation is not without its risks. Strong rhetoric from Moscow and Beijing, combined with growing hostility and suspicion from the United States and its allies, could push BRICS into a more adversarial posture. If tensions continue to rise, the bloc may find itself forced to take sides, even if that was not its original intention. In fact, U.S. threats of sanctions and economic pressure may have unintended consequences. Rather than deterring BRICS, these actions could accelerate the very fragmentation of the global system that Washington fears most. By pushing countries to seek alternatives, the West may inadvertently strengthen the resolve and unity of the bloc. Ultimately, the future direction of BRICS will depend on a complex interplay between the intentions of its members and the responses of Western powers. If both sides choose cooperation over confrontation, the bloc could become a bridge between worlds. If not, it may evolve into a more defined counterweight. What's clear is that the world is entering an era of complex, overlapping alliances, where old certainties are fading and new partnerships are constantly emerging. The lines between friend and rival are increasingly blurred. BRICS stands as a symbol of this new global reality, powerful and influential, but not yet a fully unified challenger to the established order. Its diversity is both its strength and its challenge. As BRICS continues to evolve, its choices and actions will play a crucial role in shaping the future of global affairs for years, if not decades, to come. The BRICS story is central to understanding today's shifting world order. We've seen how it grew from an investment term to a bloc representing nearly half the world's people. Despite rumors, no EU nation is joining. BRICS' real expansion is in the global south. The bloc's rise reflects a broader shift of power from west to east and south. BRICS gives emerging nations a platform to demand a fairer global system. Its success or failure will impact trade, security, and climate for all of us. The next chapter is being written now. Its outcome will affect our future. Keep watching.